Right, hit record, let's go. So I thought today we talk a little bit on rest and recovery because it's so important and I just don't think I necessarily talk about it enough. So, do you ever feel like you're kind of doing all of the stuff you're meant to be, but you're not really seeing as much progress as you want to? You're doing like 3 to 4 workouts a week, or maybe you're adding in more, maybe you're adding in some longer walks, runs, you're doing some additional classes or Pilates and you feel like you're hitting your steps, your hydration, your food, but your body's just feeling really tired. You're trying to push through, and you're like, why am I always feeling tired? And you just can't seem to give it much more. Um, so I thought I've seen some conversations recently around the group and like feeling tired. Some people had deload, some people had just gone to deload, and there was a little bit of question about what deload is. So I thought let's just clarify it all and why we need to focus on rest and recovery because it's a really big thing. So let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. So strength training is the stimulus, essentially. But the progress doesn't actually happen until after the workout has been done. So your muscle strength and energy are improving during your recovery period. It's not necessarily happening when you're in the gym. So you need to have two things. You need your training and you need your recovery because that is what's going to bring you the results. Training alone is not going to get you the results that you want, no matter how hard you push in the gym. If you're not recovering, you're not going to get those results. So I'm going to give you a little bit more context behind that. So, strength training, what it's actually doing is we're putting resistance on our muscles. So, by doing that, it breaks down the muscle tissue. You're putting stress on your nervous system and it's loading up your joints and your connective tissue, which sounds really intense. But by doing that, essentially, like your muscles have little tears that, and you are essentially tearing your muscle. But then when you recover, that muscle rebuilds and it regrows stronger. So that's why the recovery side of things is really important. And it enables you to the recovery side is where you're going to not only build that muscle as it's repairing itself, but it's also where you're going to start restoring your energy. And that's where you're going to regain your focus as well. So without enough recovery, your workouts are going to feel so hard. Your strength, your progress is going to stall because you're not going to have enough to give it. Your motivation is then in turn going to dip and you're going to feel a little bit crappy. Like, why am I not performing at my best? Why do I not feel so good? And that's when you're going to you're going to start seeing maybe some aches. You're going to start seeing some niggles. I don't mean aches like DOMS because DOMS is delayed onset muscle soreness. That's what you might get, especially after the first few times that you start working out, doing strength training, or when you increase your weights. You'll notice those. And then they're a good thing. That's not bad. But you might start feeling like if you're overtraining and you're under recovering, then you might start feeling like you're getting more niggles. You might like you're getting injuries or you're just not feeling your best. You're starting to feel, as I say, oh God, I'm starting to feel a little bit old round my joints. That's normally my sign for when I need to start recovering a little bit more. So more training, you training more in the gym or you doing more strength training doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be getting better results. So for a lot of women, you'll actually find that you'll just be more fatigued, which will then in turn mean that you will progress less. Or if you have better recovery, you're going to gain better consistency to keep up with your workouts for longer term. So you're going to gain more progress. So it's important to factor in. So you'll notice that you will have on your there are days during your week where I won't won't give you any workouts because they're the days that you need to rest on. And we'll dip into a little bit what you can do on your rest days because I don't just mean necessarily when you're resting, you sit back and you don't do anything at all. There are still obviously things that you can do on your rest days, but it's really important to take that step back on those days where you're not working out. And typically, ideally, what you want to be doing is splitting your workouts through the week so it gives your body enough time to repair. Um, so what is optimal rest? So it's actually different for everybody. All based on like your lifestyle, what you've got going on around you, your levels of stress. So it is different for everyone. But ultimately, optimal rest doesn't mean that you need to be stopping completely. So when we talk about rest and recovery, I don't mean like on your day off of not doing your workouts, you sit idle and you don't do anything at all. And it also doesn't mean that you're going to be losing fitness by resting. But it's important that we are staying active to a degree. So your optimal rest is essentially what we're doing is recognizing our tiredness, recognizing that our body is tired and we've put it under stress and stress, and we need to manage that fatigue. And we're going to be training. If by doing that, it's going to enable us to train in a way that we can recover better. So everyone's rest is different. So what is rest and recovery? What types are they? So there's a few different ways that we do this, and most of you are already doing it, maybe without even recognizing or knowing that you're doing it. So you've got your daily recovery, you've got your like your rest between like your sets and your reps. You've also got your rest between your sessions where you're going to be recovering, and you've also got deload weeks. All of them matter, and all of them are really, really important. So daily recovery foundations. So these are your sleep, ensuring you're eating enough of the right thing, your hydration, and managing your stress where possible. So I know managing your stress can also is quite challenging in itself. So let's talk a little bit more about the between the sessions recovery. So like I said a moment ago, like it's in an ideal world, if you can spread out your workouts through the week, that enables your body to have enough time to recover. So giving it a day or so to recover between the next set of exercise. But that's also the reason why we'll often break it down into you'll get a full body workout, then you might get a lower body workout, then you might get an upper body workout. Or you might have a push-pull leg split, depending on how much you're training. But I personally prefer having full body, lower body, then upper body. This enables us to work a wide range of muscles through our body, but then while our upper body from that workout is resting, we focus on our lower body. So then when our lower body is fatigued, we then give it a day and then we work our upper body. So that gives your muscles, your groups of muscles, a longer period to recover. So that, as we know now, that recovery enables them to repair, and that's when they're going to grow. If you are training hard every day, really frequently, all it's going to do is lead to burnout. It's not necessarily going to help you progress in a way that is productive. You're going to get tired, you're going to get injuries, and it's also you're going to lose that consistency, you're going to lose that momentum, you're not going to want to keep going forward. So if you give your body that time to recover, you're going to feel better in yourself. You're going to feel more energized. That's where the energy from working out comes through. You're going to feel more energized. And then you're going to be able to push harder in your next workout. So what is a deload week? I try and give these to people. It's a little bit flexible in that based on how you are feeling, what you've had on. So typically it's about for every 5 to 7-ish weeks, but we'll often find that there might be weeks that you've unintentionally had a deload week or you've unintentionally reduced your intensity of training, at which point it might get pushed on a little bit more. That's why I'll often speak to you about it individually. But typically there are every about 5 to 7 weeks of intense training. But a deload week is essentially a planned reduction in training. So by that, what we mean is we will lighten your weights. You go for lighter weights. You'll often have fewer sets. It might be you have 2 sets instead of 3 sets. You'll often have lower intensity as well. So it might be that I want you to go at 50% of like a 50 RPE, so 50% intensity instead of going at say 70%. So you're still doing the reps, you're still doing the sets, but you're reducing how much effort you're putting into that. That in itself is enabling the body to stay active and stay moving. And you're also going to get that feel-good factor by still showing up to your exercise, still getting your brain in gear from doing the exercise and doing the movement. But your body isn't giving as much to it. So it has got that time to rest a little bit. So a deload typically lasts about 5 to 7 days, and it's basically to reduce accumulated fatigue. So over the period of the, let's say, 5 to 6 weeks you're intensely training for, you're building up fatigue in your body, and by taking that week off, it just kind of reduces that, and it gives you a little bit more energy, and it just prepares your body to go again. So during your rest and recovery, rest doesn't mean doing nothing. So I would always recommend during your deload week that you do stay active and you do still do stuff. Like, no, I don't mean necessarily like doing as much as you would normally, but you don't need to just sit and do nothing. I would still recommend keeping up with steps, like keeping a good baseline of steps is a really good way of keeping your body mobile, keeping, especially outside in the fresh air, keeping your mindset in check, reducing your stress by walking, doing mobility work as well. So stretching, dynamic stretching, like yoga, Pilates, easy cardio, and also your strength workout. So during your deload weeks, you'll find that you will get a deload workout, and that will be stripped back to you giving 40 to say about 40, maybe up to about 60%, but mostly around the 40 to 50% intensity, dropping your weights down lower. So your body is still doing the movements, and you're still staying active, but you're just not going hard. Another thing that's really good to do during your deload weeks is to focus on your technique. So form is so important when it comes to strength training, that if during your deload weeks you can take the weight away and you can focus on, let's say for a squat, your range of motion, your range of movements, so like how low you can go while keeping good form. And again, with any of the exercises, still doing the exercises, but really, really thinking of mind to muscle connection, like what muscles are you using? Are you standing up straight? Are you engaging your core? Just really thinking things through and slowing down the movements. So that's always really handy to do on deload. Let's talk a little bit about sleep. One of those things that we actually don't have as much control over as we would like a lot of the time. So I can stand here and tell you to get 8 to 9 hours sleep a night or 7 to 8 hours sleep a night, but do you know what? It's not always in our control. And like for me, last night, I had 3 hours where I was up with a child. Nobody wants to be up for 3 hours in the middle of the night, right? So like I'm not going to stand here and tell you you have to get this amount of sleep because it's unrealistic. We can't always, it's not in our control, but it is really important. It's really important. But why is it important? So poor sleep increases cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and ghrelin, your hunger hormone. Leptin goes down. So leptin is the hormone that tells you you're full. This in turn means that as your stress levels go up and your hunger hormone goes up, your hunger goes up, your fullness goes down, therefore you're craving more food and you're going to want to reach for carbs and sugar to give you that quick fix of energy. So if we are getting good quality sleep, it helps to balance those hormones. Recovery and performance. So sleep is where the magic happens when it comes to repairing your muscles, regaining and regulating your energy, and it restores your nervous system. So if you have a low amount of sleep, it's going to stall your progress. Your workouts are going to feel so much harder, and you're going to have less energy to push. So trying to get that sleep in is really good. It's really important. It also is going to affect your decision making. So when you're tired, if you've had fewer amounts of sleep, so we all know what it's like. You want that instant fix of energy. Your brain isn't working at maximum capacity. You're not as switched on as you could be in an ideal situation. So that in turn affects like your food choices. Often we'll want to go for, say, biscuits or cake, or like I say, to get that quick fix of energy. You're going to have less willpower because you're tired. You just don't really have the energy to kind of fight that. your decision making goes down, you feel a little bit more lazy, and then that in turn might make you think, do you know what? I don't think I can do my workouts today. I'll do it another day. And then you might put it off, and then you're more likely to go off plan. And so it just has that bit of a knock-on effect. By having a lower amount of sleep, it can really affect that. And while it's on my mind, um, have a kiwi, two kiwis about an hour before bed. Improves the quality of your sleep. I've not tried it because I'm allergic to kiwis. However, I have had it in um, written information from my performance nutritionist that kiwis are really good at improving the quality of your sleep. I would love to try it, but I can't. So the second thing that's really important when it comes to recovery is your hydration. I talk about hydration a lot, almost as much as I talk about protein, but hydration is so important, and I don't necessarily just mean water. So hydration is really important for your energy and your focus. So even the slightest bit of dehydration can completely zap your energy. It's going to reduce your concentration as well. You're going to feel like your workouts are a lot harder, and you are going to find that you won't progress as well because you're finding it harder because you're not able to lift as much. You won't have as much energy, therefore you can't lift as much weights. It's also really, really important when it comes to metabolism and fat loss. So you being hydrated is going to improve your digestion. By you improving your digestion, you're going to absorb more nutrients. You're then going to have more energy. You're going to be less bloated as well. So it all has a real knock-on effect. It's going to reduce so when you are we like it's always that thing of like have a glass of water to see if you're actually hungry. But it is kind of true because the feeling of being thirsty and the feeling of hunger can feel quite similar to a degree. So what we need to do is ensure you're hydrated so you're not getting those false hunger signals. And making sure you're drinking enough as well, to improve your digestion from that side of things too. Your performance. Hydration is key for performance because it's going to help with your strength. It's also going to help with your endurance, so how long you work out for, at what intensity. It's going to help you, which in turn is then going to help you burn more calories, and also it's going to help you with your recovery because your muscles are about 70% of water. So if you're dehydrated, your muscles aren't going to work as well as they could and should do. So, stress. Another thing that's kind of, I feel, a little bit hard to manage, or maybe something more so that we neglect. We don't we don't think about enough. Um, so when it comes to stress, when we're doing strength training, we're putting our body under resistance. We're putting resistance onto our muscles, and that's fatiguing our muscles and it's putting us under stress. So the stress from our workouts plus the stress from life, they go in the same bucket. Your body can't differentiate them really. So they go in the same bucket. You've got the physical stress, mental stress, work stress, lack of sleep, all combined. They're all into one. So your bucket can become quite full quite quickly. So what we need to do is where we can try and reduce that element of stress from like mental stress so that we can add in a little bit more from the training side of things as well. Because that's going to help us. Like if your bucket is full, you're going to have less capacity to repair your muscles, recover between your sessions, and adapt your muscles and your body to adapt and get stronger. When your stress levels stay higher, your nervous system stays switched on. That then makes your recovery process a lot harder for your body to do, and it will slow down the progress. Your muscle's going to take longer to repair. You're going to notice that the quality of sleep will often drop. Like we all know what it's like when you're stressed. Sleeping is hard, right? Sleeping is hard. Your workout's going to feel harder than you should. I don't know if you've ever got to that point when you're doing your exercise, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling a little bit shit, and you just stand there, you do one more rep, and you just stand and sob. I know I've done it, and I know a lot of my personal training clients that come to me. Sometimes they're fine when they get to the session, and it's just that release from doing that workout. It's just like the additional stress kind of breaks you down a little bit. So we need to try and reduce stress levels from a mental capacity so that our body is not too full. So, in summary, I've kind of touched on different areas of rest and recovery. But what really is important is that we are factoring that into our day-to-day life. We're factoring that into our weeks because we need to be in training with intention. And if you want to, whether you want to build muscle, whether you want to lose fat, whatever your goal is, it's so important to have that element of rest and recovery. And you don't need to feel guilty about resting. Some people will think, oh no, I can't have a deload week. I don't want to rest because then I'm not pushing myself. But that has the knock-on effect. So you don't need to feel guilty about resting because it's actually a really important part of you reaching a fitness goal because you need to be recovering well enough so that you can train and you can train harder. So consistency isn't necessarily about doing the most all the time. It's actually about breaking it down, having your pockets where you push with your workouts, having your rest between, so that you can continue on with you can continue on the momentum, you continue on with your consistency, because we all know that consistency and momentum is what's actually going to help you reach your fitness goal. So if you can stay consistent for a long time, you're going to be able to keep on top of things. In a nutshell, I think that is pretty much everything I've covered about rest and recovery. Has anyone got any questions about it, or is there anything else I can help you with?
That was really good. For me, would you be able to share the mobility activities
Yeah,
to do on the days? Yeah. Or
yeah,
does it go in the app?
yeah,
Yeah,
yep. I can add
perfect.
them on for you. That's not a problem. So what we tend to do with mobility, you'll get a set of mobility, and I can add them on for you. So they're normally like 10-minute workouts. They're essentially stretch workouts,
Yeah,
and
perfect.
you can they're dynamic stretches, so like moving stretches, and you can have them weekly, like a block of four, so four in a week, one a week for 4 weeks as well, and
Okay.
it's going to improve your range of motion. So
Yeah,
it will be
perfect.
different exercise that help like with your joints, help with a lot of like twisting. So really,
Hmm.
really good for if you're like sitting at a desk.
Okay.
Um, and they'll just increase your mobility of your body. And the more mobile you are and the better range of motion you have, the better you'll be able to do your reps when it comes to your exercise. And therefore, the more you're working the correct muscles and you'll get more progress. But yeah, I can definitely share them for you.
Amazing. Thank you.
No worries at all. Um, so that's everything. If you've got any other questions or you need anything else from me, give me a shout. I'll upload this as well onto the WhatsApp chat. And have a lovely evening, guys.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Elle.
You're welcome. See you.